Taking a peek at the Sync4 screen inside of the Lincoln Nautilus. So this is going to be a basic walkthrough taking you through some must-know things. So things like basics for audio, how to connect a phone, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, using factory navigation, and things like that. So first thing to point out, I'm on the audio tab on the home screen. So this is going to be the inside temperature for both the driver and for the passenger side, what's going on with the current time, connection status, and then the outside temperature as well. This is a little thing that you can kind of go up and down between with a few different options. Climate, I think, is probably the most useful one because you've got a hot button press to turn on the heated steering wheel, have it go to your windshield face feet, things like that. So I usually just recommend keeping it on that screen, but you've got some options. Then you can go to a different view instead. So if you wanted to have navigation, climate settings this way, you've got that flexibility. For the actual media though, you've got a few different options for sources. So AM, FM, SiriusXM, if you had your phone hooked up over Bluetooth. If you had a USB stick with MP3s, that's also available as an option. So just plugging ourselves in down the center stack, and you can see there, USB device connected. So it's whatever ones are currently available. So if you've got multiple phones connected, you've got different options for Bluetooth settings and things like that. You can direct tune to a station. So I'm on FM right now. So you could tune to a station this way if you want to. Whoo! All right, so tuning is easy that way. You can also use the voice command prompt on the steering wheel if you wanted to change the station this way instead. Well, if you wanted to save a preset, once you've tuned to the station, you're just going to press and hold. You can see there, preset is now added in. One thing to point out, sound settings. So it gives you a series of options. Tone, normally what I'd recommend in most vehicles, drop the treble down by 2, crank the bass by 3. So a setup like this is generally going to give you really good audio inside the vehicle. You can change out your balance and fade. So if you're the only one in the vehicle versus if you wanted a more of like an immersive audio experience. You can adjust speed compensated volume. So as you're going faster or slower, it's automatically going to adjust the volume for you. And then you've got surround sound options. One other thing to point out is that when you're in SiriusXM, you've got a few other options there. So you've got a notification bell. So if the artist or the song comes on, you've got the flexibility of having the vehicle notify you to let you know. You've also got some user settings there. So if you've got different people driving the vehicle, you can personalize, create listeners, look at listening history, listener settings. So if you wanted to block explicit content, tune to start, and things like that. One thing that I always recommend, preset pages, go to the max, 5 pages there. Especially if you're a fan of the audio inside of the vehicle, or if you're not going to be hooking up through Bluetooth. But I mean, if you look there, so many preset pages that are available now. So that's one of probably the first things I'd recommend for audio is to max out the number of presets. And as you can see there, mix of AM, FM, SiriusXM, etc. Hopping back into sources, different options, like if you're in USB. So you can see there, USB is connected. You can look at the info, sound settings, browse, etc. And that's going to browse to show you what's currently available. Now this is a video file, but unfortunately, you can see there, video not supported inside of this thing. I'm like, I wish it would come, but the vehicle doesn't support video playback whatsoever. But that's the basics of media inside the vehicle. Looking at phone is an option. So you've got the option of connecting over Bluetooth if you want to, or setting up Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. So let's start off on the iPhone side of things. What you're going to do.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
And you're just going to hop into your Bluetooth settings and you're looking for Lincoln Nautilus. I'll show you how you can change that vehicle name in just a minute.
Confirm that the pin displayed on Sync matches the pin displayed on your device.
Pin numbers match up. Do you want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? I'm not going to say yes to that one, but obviously if it's your car, you would. And as you can see there, fully connected.
For your safety, please stay alert to changing road conditions and use Sync's voice-activated features while your vehicle is in motion.
I definitely recommend turning on 911 assist. And the big reason why is because if you're in a serious collision, it's automatically going to dial 911 for you. But as you can see, we're there, and then the phone also supports Apple CarPlay. So on the phone, do you want to use CarPlay with the Nautilus? So I'm going to say yes, use CarPlay. You want to enable. And we are fully connected. Love it. So you've got this kind of little split screen, which is kind of nice because if you wanted to change out if you wanted to have navigation going and still looking at CarPlay, you could. But if you wanted to go full screen, push this little guy. Look at that. Full screen. Beautiful. Love it. Along the side, you've got current time and connection status, which map application was last used, which radio or music application, and then miscellaneous app. This is going to either take you to the home screen, or you can go to the icon view instead. But you can also just kind of swipe across in order to get to these different screens. Now, a few things about CarPlay is that it's so weird. For whatever reason, every car I've ever been in, full screen Apple CarPlay, Apple Maps for whatever reason has this weird split view. Don't know why, but it is what it is there. But you don't have pinch to zoom capability in the Apple CarPlay side of things at all. So you have to go plus or minus this way. You've got your different heading icons available there as well. Search your addresses, look at previous destinations. It's the exact same way with Google Maps. So you can't you can't even drag on Google Maps there. So you've got to move yourself around this way. You can also zoom in or out that way. You can look at previous destinations or hit the gear icon in order to change route options. So if you wanted to avoid highways, toll roads, and things like that, look at satellite maps and a few other things. And it's the same situation with Waze. So Waze installed. You can't drag around. You could go this way though if you wanted to zoom in or out. Hitting done. So it's straightforward there. And then audio applications, straightforward. Like if you wanted to listen to YouTube music, you've got that flexibility. You've got your basic home screen there. It's going to kind of show everything that's available. Going back. So there are a ton of different apps that are available. I just find that the ones that I've got set up here are my favorite. Now, one nice thing is that inside of your phone, if you go into your general settings, go to CarPlay, find the vehicle, you could forget the car, you can turn CarPlay off, or you can customize the screen. So let's say if you like listening to your podcasts and you prefer to have Waze as your number one application for that, you've got that flexibility. So you can easily kind of drag and drop, or you can delete. So you delete things, and what happens is it removes it completely from the screen, but it keeps it saved in. So you could push in order to be able to add these things back in if you wanted to. So very straightforward. And then if you've done too much, you don't like how you've rearranged things, you can just hit reset, and that's going to bring you back to the factory default layout there instead. So very straightforward using this. Love it. You can hit any of these other options, hop back into CarPlay simply there as well. And then you can technically still use factory navigation. You can hit phone list at the very top to get to your phone settings. So as of right now, I'm connected to CarPlay, but if I wanted to disconnect from CarPlay, hook back up to just over Bluetooth instead, you've got that flexibility. So you can have the phone hooked up for audio if you want to, for music, for both. It's kind of like a mix and match there, which is great. Now, if you go into phone settings, this option there, you can manage contacts, you can mute out low battery notifications and things like that. So I know it's a little bit of info, but that's everything you need to know about setting up an Apple device inside of the Lincoln Nautilus. All right, and setting up an Android device is the exact same process. So if you aren't on the screen, let's say if you're on the phone screen there, you could go in. Actually, I've got my phone connected, so that's not going to be helpful. So on the very bottom, go to settings, and you've got phone list. And then you can see the current phones that are connected. I'm just going to go add phone.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
Looking for Lincoln Nautilus.
Confirm that the pin displayed on Sync matches the pin displayed on your device.
Pins match up. Do I want to allow access to my contacts?
For your safety, please
No.
stay alert to changing road conditions and use Sync's voice-activated features while your vehicle is in motion.
There we go. Oh, enable. So let's go enable Android Auto. And what it's doing, it's disconnecting Apple CarPlay, and then it's going to start connecting Android Auto for us in a second there. Android Auto would like to, so just going to continue. Boom. Would you look at that? Fully connected. So very similar to what we saw on the iPhone side of things. It kind of gives us this little weird split screen in order to start. But actually one thing, if you go map, there you go. So that's going to kind of give you a fuller screen there. Now it looks like Android Auto, perfect. That's what I was looking for. So it actually changed. It used to be up there. It's now down here. So if you wanted to go full screen Android Auto, you're going to push this button in order to go full screen, split screen, etc. Nice. And one nice thing is that Android Auto, pinch to zoom, very responsive at the same time. Very similar to the iPhone side of things that you saw. You've got all of these different options that are available too. You can go plus minus this way. You've got a little tray along the side. So you've got current connection levels, maps, different phone applications, and things like that. You can push this button to get back to your little split screen. You can go to an icon view there instead. Now, one thing, this phone does have Waze installed, but as of right now, Waze is not showing up. So you do have the flexibility of being able to show Waze. It's a little bit tricky to do, but not impossible all at the same time. So in order to do it, what you're going to do is start off and go to Android Auto. Along the very bottom, you're going to hit the version and permission info. You're going to go 10 times, and that's going to essentially put you into developer mode. So you're going to go developer mode. Along the very top, go to developer settings, and then you want to enable unknown sources. When you do that, all of a sudden we go to customize launcher, and you can see that Waze is now there. So you're going to select it, but in order for these changes to take into effect, you've got to get out of Android Auto, and then you've got to launch back in. So we're actually going to disconnect from Android Auto. Perfect, and then reconnect. And you can see there, Waze is now installed and usable, which is great. So you can use Google Maps or Waze. There are a series of other things that you can use inside of this screen though, which is kind of nice. If you go back home, that's going to get you to that split screen there, or go to this mini split screen there instead. Now, if we go to phone list, you can see there connected to Android Auto. But if I wanted to disconnect Android Auto, I could do that, but watch this. So if you have multiple phones connected, you've got the flexibility of kind of doing a mix and match between these four. So you can have one phone set up for your phone, one set up for audio. You can do a mix and match of these four. It can be either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, not both, but you can have any of these four options available, and actually technically even more if you had more phones connected, which is nice. Now, if you wanted to remove a phone, you're just going to go delete, yes. And then same idea, phone settings, delete, yes. And it's that simple, being able to set up a phone inside the vehicle. Okay, so that's the basics of phone. Now, one thing, in order to be able to change the vehicle name, you're going to go into, actually it is under connectivity, Bluetooth, change vehicle name. That's where you're going to make it happen. So if you wanted to change it to Bob's Nautilus, Sally's Ride, whatever the case may be, that's where you're going to make it happen. So you're going to go connectivity, Bluetooth, in order to change the vehicle name out. But, I mean, as you saw there, it's very straightforward setting up a phone. Using factory nav is also straightforward, so you can go full screen there if you want to. Basics for the menu options. You've got different map orientations, voice options, and things like that. So voice, as you're coming up to turns, do you want a voice and tone, strictly a voice, or strictly a tone? That one's a matter of preference. What things do you want to avoid on the route? Highways, toll roads, tunnels, borders, and things like that. Series of other settings that are available. And you'll see some of these things are grayed out. So the reason why they're grayed out is because the services haven't been activated yet. So what's going to happen is once you have your Nautilus set up, you're going to go through the Lincoln Way app on your phone, connect it in order to be able to activate the rest of these settings. Routing and map preferences. Do you want the fastest, shortest, or the most eco-friendly route? And then the other one to point out are breadcrumbs. So as you go to different locations, it's going to put a little breadcrumb on all the different places that you've gone. So kind of useful if you're like a traveler and you love to see the places that you've gone. And then nothing overly exciting there. You've got different things that you can avoid, as I mentioned. Searching for addresses is straightforward. So you can go by GPS coordinates. You can go to your home or work address. Look at recently visited addresses, saved, gas stations, so a series of different point of interest icons. You could just start typing in an address if you want to, or a point of interest icon. So let's say if we wanted to go to Tim Hortons, we'd have that flexibility, so we can choose any of these options. You could press this button if you wanted to see which different routes are available. You can start, and that's going to let you know.
Please proceed to the highlighted road.
Which way to take, so you can see the full maps there, the directions there that you should be taking. You can add in a destination. So if you wanted to make a stop partway for gas, whatever the case may be, you could do that. Look at your full route overview. You can mute out if you don't want to get notifications, or you can cancel out. And when you cancel out, you can easily press to resume the trip instead. Look at recents. You can save. So there you can see home or work addresses. One of the big benefits there is that if you push the voice command prompt on the steering wheel, you could say navigate home, navigate to work, whatever the case may be, and it'll navigate you to those saved addresses. Very straightforward. It's nice and simple. And that's the basics of factory nav. Like there's nothing too crazy here. You can see your current coordinates, current location, and things like that, just in case you get lost. But like I mentioned, searching for addresses, you can go by GPS coordinates. if you wanted to go point of interest icons, typing in physical addresses and things like that. Next up is this little favorite button. So you can push this favorite button in order to have it not do anything, but close to anything that you'd want it to do. So if you wanted to have it be a hot button press for your phone list, for your vehicle, or for sound settings, hotspot, or ambient light, etc., you could do that. So I'll give you an example of what that looks like. Let's say if you wanted to have it for your vehicle settings. All of a sudden, this thing is now for vehicle settings. So if you're on any of these other screens, you can push there to get to vehicle settings, or you can edit it to go to any of these other options instead. So if you wanted to hot button press for ambient light, you could do that. You get out of it, button press to get inside, and you can adjust your ambient light that way, or edit it to create another button instead. So it's kind of nice that you've got that available as an option. Next up is apps. So you've got Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Nothing overly exciting there. Just honestly going through the big things to point out. Device settings, nothing crazy there because I'm currently connected over USB. You can add in a phone. There's navigation options, sound settings, which you saw earlier. Vehicle settings, you've got auto start stop. So with that enabled, if you come to a complete stop, the engine might turn off. And then when you take your foot off the brake, go to drive again, it's going to just turn the vehicle back on again and you can drive away. You've got rear occupant alert. So when you go to turn the vehicle off, it's going to let you know to check the back seats. Door keypad code. So there's a 5-digit factory number that's included, but you can go there in order to create your own custom code if you want to. Backup start passkey. If you're using your phone as a key, you'd have the flexibility of not bringing your key fob with you. But if your phone dies, you can use the 5-digit number to get into the vehicle and then backup start password in order to actually start the vehicle to drive. Your call whether or not you use the phone as a key, and honestly to set it up, it's just done through the Lincoln Way app. So you go through the Lincoln Way app, and honestly it's a very straightforward process when you do. I'll leave a link down in the description showing you how to set that one up though. Clock settings, straightforward, so you can change between hours, minutes, AM, PM, if you prefer that military time instead, and then auto time update. So it's going to, you can see there, Eastern Standard Time, it's going to automatically adjust the time just based off of your GPS location. Personal profiles gives you the flexibility of having it remember your assistant settings, phone, audio settings, etc. So if you've got multiple people driving the vehicle, you can easily set up a profile. So you're just going to start typing in, got your name there, enter through. You can have it set up. So once you've got your driver's seat set up, you've got your side view mirror set up and things like that, you can have it linked to everything. You can link a key fob, phone, both, none, etc. And then as you go through, it's going to remember everything for you. So it is a very straightforward system to set up, but big reason why you'd want to use this, like I said, if you've got multiple people driving, because it's going to remember all of your presets. You can turn it off if you want to so that you're not using personal profiles and then it just defaults to like this guest screen instead. You can toggle it back on, hop into a profile that you've created, make it the active profile. You can change the name or you can fully delete it. So very straightforward setting these things up. Series of general settings. Do you want it to be English, Spanish, French, kilometers or miles, Celsius or Fahrenheit? The beeping that we're getting, if that drives you nuts, you could turn it off. And then you can also reset. So you can either reset the Lincoln Connect, so the Lincoln Way app, or you can do a complete factory reset instead. If you're selling your vehicle, you're going factory reset. If you're having issues with your phone connectivity, not through Bluetooth, but if it's through the Lincoln app instead, you could reset that instead if you'd like. Next up, display settings. So when as big as bright as this display is, if it's a bit too much, you can turn it off, or you can go into a calming screen instead. Just date and time. You can adjust the brightness and turn it into different modes. So as of right now, it's technically in the day mode. So you can lock it out to daytime or nighttime permanently, just depending. So you can see there, it's a little bit darker. That one's a matter of preference. I just usually leave it in the auto mode so it can automatically adjust for me instead. Lincoln Assistant. So you can hit the voice command prompt in order to have it show all of these options. So you can do things like change songs, radio stations, navigate using your voice and things like that. You can adjust the climate, change media, like I said, navigate, etc. There are a ton of options available. So it's all based off of, so command list, that's where you're going in order to actually be able to do things. That's your command list. Your phone confirmation, do you want to call such and such person when you say make a call to that person? And then advanced mode means you won't get as many notifications. Now, you could push the voice command prompt on the steering wheel to activate this list, or you can have it listen for a wake word. So if you say, okay, Lincoln, it's going to launch into this screen instead. But as I mentioned, that one's a matter of preference. What I normally recommend is keeping the command list on unless you spend some time getting used to this. Because with the command list off, push the voice command prompt and it doesn't give you the option now. It's just nice and simple instead. So you won't get as many notifications. Going to be a matter of preference though. Connectivity, that's where we're going. So connected vehicle features. So remember how I mentioned certain things are locked out. So you see some grayed out things because we haven't set them up properly through our Lincoln app. Telematics, whether or not you want to share that with Lincoln, yay or nay. Changing your vehicle name. Wireless app projection. And the other one here is Wi-Fi. So I always recommend connect to a Wi-Fi network at home. And the big reason why is going to be tied into our software updates. So I recommend always keeping these software updates on automatic and then schedule them on later on at night. So I usually say like Monday to Thursday is usually pretty good. So it might take like 4 or 5 hours for the update to download and then install. But at least that way you're keeping your vehicle up to date. The vehicle does feature ambient light. It's going to show in the cup holders, the footwells, and a few other spots. You can adjust or figure out which color you want to use and then the intensity of the color by dragging up and down there. If you're in auto mode for the ambient light, you won't be able to see it in the daytime. But if you were in one of the other modes, you would. There's a fully digital owner's manual. So you don't have a printed manual for the vehicle, but everything's available there. You could also access the digital owner's manual online. So a PDF or a searchable PDF instead if you wanted to. But you could see visuals, bookmarks, and videos. So if you weren't necessarily sure when you maybe needed to change your oil, you could just hit oil there and search. Look at that. Adding engine oil, checking the oil level, and things like that. So it tells you everything that you need to know, which is kind of cool. And 2 more, 911 Assist, which we've already seen. So if the vehicle is connected to a phone and you're in a serious accident, it's going to automatically dial 911 for you. And then Valet mode. So with Valet mode turned on, you enter in a 4-digit number and it's going to lock the screen out. Don't use 000, use something more difficult. But as you can see there, everything's locked out now until you re-enter that code, done, and it's unlocked the screen for us there. So I know that's quite a little bit of info for you there, but that's everything that you need to know about the Sync4 screen inside of a Lincoln Nautilus.